Arjun loved the thrill of the unknown. He loved the dusty silence of forgotten places. Abandoned buildings were his playground. He explored them all, camera in hand, documenting their secrets. Arjun's best friend, Kunal, shared his thirst for adventure. They spent their weekends searching for forgotten corners of their city. Each discovery fueled their desire to find something truly unique, something unseen for years. One humid afternoon, Kunal burst into Arjun's room, his eyes wide with excitement. "You won't believe what I found," he exclaimed, brandishing his phone. He showed Arjun a grainy image of a bricked-up tunnel entrance. An old railway tunnel, Kunal explained, sealed up for decades. People whisper about it, say it's haunted. A slow smile spread across Arjun's face. This was exactly the kind of adventure they craved. The next morning, armed with flashlights and a camera, they set off. The air hung heavy with humidity as they drove to the city's edge. The bustling streets gave way to overgrown weeds and crumbling buildings. A sense of isolation settled over them. Finally, they reached the coordinates Kunal had found. Hidden behind a tangle of thorns and weeds lay the tunnel entrance. The rusty bars that sealed it were old and weakened by time. This place had been swallowed by the earth, forgotten by all. "Ready?" Arjun asked, a nervous thrill running through him. Kunal, his face pale but determined, nodded. They squeezed through a small opening beneath the bars, entering the tunnel's dark maw. The air inside was cold and damp, thick with the smell of mildew. The darkness was absolute, swallowing their flashlight beams. Arjun felt a shiver crawl down his spine. This place had an unsettling energy. They moved deeper into the tunnel, their sneakers crunching on the gravel beneath their feet. The only sounds were their own breathing and the drip, drip, drip of water seeping from the tunnel's ceiling. "This place is creepy," Kunal whispered, his voice tight. Arjun nodded, shining his flashlight down a side passage. The beam revealed nothing but more darkness. He felt a growing sense of unease. Suddenly they both heard it, a faint, rhythmic tapping, echoing from the depths of the tunnel. It was slow and deliberate, like a heartbeat in the darkness. Arjun's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to turn back, to run back to the sunlight and forget this place. But curiosity, that insatiable hunger for the unknown, kept him rooted to the spot. "Let's just see what it is," he said, his voice barely a whisper. They crept forward, their flashlights scanning the darkness. The tapping grew louder, more insistent. The air seemed to vibrate with each tap. Arjun felt a cold sweat prickling his skin. He noticed something strange. Their voices, usually loud in the enclosed space, sounded muffled, distorted. It was as if the tunnel itself were twisting their words, swallowing their sound. Then they saw it. At the end of a short tunnel branch, a faint light flickered. It pulsed weakly, like a dying ember. As they approached, the tapping reached a fever pitch, echoing all around them. The light emanated from a figure huddled on the ground. It was human-shaped but twisted, ashen grey, its limbs at unnatural angles. It looked up, its eyes two smouldering pits in the darkness. "Hello," Arjun stammered, his voice trembling. The figure turned its head and Arjun felt a chill race down his spine. He couldn't make out any features, just that unsettling greyness. "Help! Me!" the figure rasped, its voice a dry, scraping sound. Arjun took a hesitant step forward, his flashlight beam illuminating the creature's contorted body. It was then that he noticed the rhythmic tapping was coming from the figure itself. Its chest rose and fell with each tap, but it wasn't breathing. It was as if something were beating against its insides, trying to get out. Arjun's fear morphed into a strange sort of pity. He wanted to help, but something felt terribly wrong. Kunal, however, was frozen in place, his eyes wide with terror. "We need to leave now," he whispered urgently, tugging at Arjun's arm. Arjun hesitated, torn between his desire to help and the growing fear that was coiling in his gut. The figure suddenly lurched to its feet, its movements jerky and unnatural. It towered over them, its form shifting, growing larger. The dim light that had surrounded it flared, revealing its true form. Its skin was stretched taut over jutting bones, its fingers elongated and tipped with claws. Its eyes, now burning brightly, were filled with a terrifying hunger. The tapping intensified, reverberating through the tunnel, and Arjun realized with horror that it wasn't alone. From the darkness behind the creature, more glowing eyes appeared. Shapes moved in the shadows, spindly limbs reaching out from the darkness. The tapping was all around them now, a chorus of dread. The creature lunged, its clawed hand reaching for Arjun. He stumbled backward, tripping over a loose rock. He fell hard, his flashlight clattering out of his grasp and plunging them into darkness. Panic flooded Arjun's senses. He scrambled for the flashlight, his fingers closing around cold, damp stone. He could hear the creatures moving closer, their rasping breaths echoing in the enclosed space. Kunal screamed, a high-pitched sound that was quickly cut short. Arjun's blood ran cold. He found the flashlight and flicked it on, aiming the beam wildly. The creatures hissed, recoiling from the light. They were all around them, grotesque parodies of humans, their bodies twisted and broken, their eyes glowing like hot coals followed their every move. Arjun knew they had to escape, but the tunnel seemed to stretch endlessly before them. He grabbed Kunal's arm and pulled him up. "Run!" he yelled, and they sprinted down the tunnel, their only guide the weak beam of the flashlight. The creatures shrieked, their cries echoing behind them. They ran blindly, their lungs burning, their legs screaming for respite. The tunnel seemed to go on forever, the darkness pressing in on them from all sides. The creatures' screeches spurred them forward. Arjun risked a glance back. The creatures were gaining on them, their glowing eyes like burning embers in the darkness. He stumbled, his ankle twisting beneath him. Pain shot up his leg, but he couldn't stop. Finally, he saw it. A faint light ahead, the promise of escape. He pushed himself harder, ignoring the searing pain in his ankle. The light grew larger, and he realized it was the opening they had crawled through. They burst out of the tunnel, collapsing onto the cold, damp earth. Arjun gasped for breath, his chest heaving. He looked back, but the creatures didn't follow. They were safe for now. Arjun and Kunal didn't speak as they stumbled back to the car, their bodies bruised and shaking. They left that place behind, but the tunnel and its horrors lingered in their minds. Arjun tried to forget the creatures, the terror, the way the tunnel seemed to twist their voices and trap them within its depths, but the memory wouldn't be silenced. He saw glowing eyes in every shadow, heard the rasping breaths in the rustling leaves, and the tapping. He could still hear it, faint but insistent, echoing in the silence of his room. Tap, 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 a constant reminder of the horrors that lurked beneath the surface, waiting to claim those who dared to seek the forgotten. The forgotten tunnel had left its mark, a chilling reminder that some secrets are best left buried.